We're finally just a couple days away from the release of League 6, and I've gotten quite a few comments and questions about how to make some starting GP in Varlamore. Since this league, we're going to be starting in a completely new region, and if you are not going to be one of those abundance pickers where money might be a problem out of the gate, today I'm going to highlight a couple of different methods you can do to get your first 100k GP to get yourself started. Now, our first method, and my personal favorite, can be done regardless of which of these starter relics you take. But the only catch is we do need a couple hundred GP in order to get it started, and we also need 20 crafting. Now, this first step can really be done in a variety of ways. Maybe one of the most simple is to just start thieving, because we're probably going to spawn somewhere around this fountain would be my guess, and there are plenty of these citizens that you can pickpocket at level 1. Now, realistically, these are barely going to make a dent because each of these coin pouches are only 3 coins each. But what we want to do is to quickly get to level 5 thieving, and once we've done that, we can move down here into the bazaar. And usually if you move into this top right corner, it can be a decent place to thieve without having too many issues. Now, this guard does seem to be in a pretty bad spot, but what we want to do is just fill the rest of our inventory up with cakes. Now, if you do get attacked by the guard, you can just lure him over here behind this pole and then run up. And now he's trapped and you are safe to thieve. There's probably going to be so many people in here, I don't know how big of a factor that's going to be. And now that we have a full inventory, we're going to make our way back out the entrance we just came in, and a few steps to the west there is a general store. We're going to run into this general store, trade the shopkeeper, and now here we're going to sell the things in our inventory. Cakes sell for 20 each, bread sells for 4, and chocolate slices sell for 12. Now, in an ideal world, we would just have an entire inventory of cakes, but the real goal is just to get somewhere around 300 GP. But now that we sold all our cake and we got our GP, we're now going to make our way over here to the charter ship. And I'm sure you've seen this method before, but we're going to be trading the charter members. We're going to grab ourselves 1 glass blowing pipe, and then 10 buckets of sand and 10 soda ash. Once you've got your first inventory set, we just make our way straight out the south entrance, and there's a furnace very conveniently straight over here. And to kickstart our early game crafting, all we have to do is make our molten glass on this furnace. And then once you have your glass, just blow it into what the best available option you have. Most likely it's going to be either beer glasses or candle lanterns. But all in all, depending on how many spots you have in your inventory, this should only really take about 2 trips to get your 20 crafting. And now that our 20 crafting is done, this is really where the method starts. And if you didn't already clock it, this method is going to involve using the Varlamore gem shop. And gem crafting and selling has been a method I've used on the previous 2 leagues, both of which times it's been absolutely busted. Unfortunately, this time around we didn't get a production prodigy sigil that impacted crafting. So rather than this being like a 10 mil GP an hour method, it's only going to be a few 100k. Regardless, if you did not take abundance as one of your starter sigils, this is still going to be one of the best methods we have available for getting your GP kickstarted in Varlamore. Now, we are located on the northeast part of Alderaan. There are a few different ways you can get here. One, you can ferry ring to CKQ from this ferry ring down south of Civitas. You can also potentially use the minigame teleport to Mastering Mixology. I'm not 100% sure if that's unlocked straight away at release. But the other method is you could just run down to the Sunset Coast and charter. And in order to get down to one of these 2 areas quicker, you can just Quetzal to the Hunters Guild, considering we will have access to those straight out of the gate because the quest is auto-completed. But now once you're at the gem shop, the way this method works is pretty simple. Uncut sapphires are worth 25 GP, and since the stocks are going to be unlimited, you basically just buy a full inventory of sapphires, and this might kickstart with you only being able to buy a few depending on how much money you have currently. Realistically, it might take 2 or 3 minutes before you make enough GP that you can just be doing full inventories at a time. But once you cut that first sapphire, you're going to open the gem shop back up, and now in order to sell it, we make 175. So for every single sapphire we cut, we make 150 GP profit. We're also going to be getting very good crafting XP this early in the game. As soon as you get to 27 crafting, you'll be able to access the uncut emeralds. Those we can buy for 50 GP. You'll be able to sell them for 200. So while they do effectively have the exact same profit margin, you would be getting better XP rates and in result, probably better league points overall. Now, this is definitely the method I would recommend the most. I think it's incredibly easy to get started, and it can result in some of the better GP we have this early in the league. But if you really don't want to do crafting out of the gate, or you don't want to spend your time just sitting in a gym stall and you'd rather accomplish a couple things at the same time, now obviously this entire guide is built on if you don't take abundance because you wouldn't be watching it otherwise. So therefore you either have Barbarian Gathering or Endless Harvest. And this method just involves selling the resources that you AFK'd or gathered. Things like iron ore sell for 6, coal sells for 18 GP each, regular logs are 1 GP, oak logs you can sell for 8, and then lastly willow you can sell for 16. Now obviously you can tell this doesn't scale nearly as well as the crafting does, but considering you can just get all of these resources while you're doing other tasks and accomplishing other things, this can still very easily be a feasible method just to get your first 5 to 20k, which is plenty to get you kick-started buying some of those early game armor and weapons, or maybe even runes or arrows. Now our third method just involves continuing the thieving route. Once you get 5 thieving, you have access to the baker's stall, or you could just go all the way up to 10 and go thieve from a farmer down south of Civitas. From there, if you get 20 thieving, you can thieve from this silk stall right here, still in the bazaar. One nice convenient thing is silk actually sell for 12 each in the general store, so you could very easily thieve an entire inventory right here. And then in barely any more time than it would take you to drop your entire inventory, you could just quickly run over and dump them all in the general store for some extra GP. Otherwise, you can thieve silk all the way from level 20 to 50, or you could stop and hit guards at level 40, or maybe master farmers at level 38. Either way, the real money in Varlamore when it comes to thieving is getting level 50 and having access to these wealthy citizens. You can easily just sit here in the middle of the bazaar, wait for one of these children to cry, and then temporarily for a few seconds, you have a 100% success rate on thieving whichever citizen is distracted. As you can tell, the boy starts to dance and the citizen walks up. Go ahead and just thieve from him. And as simple as that, I got 14 coin pouches, which if we open them up, is a free 1.2k. Now the other nice thing you can get from this method are these house keys, and if we make our way over here into the western side of the city, we can find whichever of these houses, this one currently marked by this green door because I have a plug-in for it, but whichever one of the houses doesn't have their owner inside, we can use these house keys to open the locked doors. And inside we can search from these chests or the jewelry cases, and we get valuables. This can be a very relaxed, like semi-AFK method, 1 to train your thieving, but also 2 to make money. Every single one of these valuables we can take to this person located by the West Bank, and it's Oriana who is dressed in robes right here, and we can trade in these valuables for 55 GP each. Now overall, a much more chill method than doing something like the gym shop. Yes, it's going to take a little bit longer to get started. It's also not going to be as much GP available per hour. But now for the final method of video, and this one's kind of like a bonus because it does have quite a few requirements. You do have to unlock the tier 2 relics, and it would only be eligible if you are taking Hotfoot. Once you take Hotfoot, every single time you pick up termites on the Worm Agility course, you would also be getting 10k coins. You can't unlock this until you get tier 2, and it also doesn't even become effective until you get all the way up to 50 agility, because that's the first time we have access to any course where this even becomes a useful relic. But those are just a few methods you can use, and realistically all you should need in order to get your starter GP in Varlamore for this league. There'll be plenty of better ways to make money either from PVMing or skilling as you progress later in the game, but these methods should very easily get the job done to get you those starter weapons, runes, and ammo. As always, if you guys did enjoy, consider dropping a like, or I'll catch you in the next one.